When starting out in SOLIDWORKS, you will often need to select multiple sketch entities, but if you aren't aware of the different selection tools available or how to use them, then you'll end up wasting precious time selecting each one individually. In this video, I'm going to teach you the SOLIDWORKS selection tools that will allow you to simultaneously select multiple sketch entities, turning you into a faster and more confident designer. Let's get to it. Hey guys, welcome to another video with the Inventor Within channel. My name is Wilfredo Perez Carbajal. I have over 5 years of design experience with SOLIDWORKS, and one of the things that I often notice beginners struggle with is not knowing how to select multiple sketch entities at a time. It will often be convenient to select multiple sketch entities so that you can either delete them all at once or move them around. Okay, so there's actually two selection tools that I want to teach you for this video. The first one being the box selection tool, and the second the lasso selection tool. First, let's go over the box selection tool. The box selection tool is automatically enabled in SOLIDWORKS from the moment you boot it up, but there is the chance that it might not be if you used the lasso selection tool the last time you used the software. So if this is the case for you, let me teach you how you can enable it. You can access the box selection tool by right-clicking anywhere on your SOLIDWORKS graphics area and then navigating over to selection tools, and from here selecting the box option. You can also go up to the Tools tab in the menu bar, and from here going down to Selection and selecting Box Selection. If you're not currently in a sketch, another way you can access it is simply by right-clicking on the graphics area and selecting the box option right here. Using the box selection tool is actually very easy. All you have to do is click and hold on your left mouse button, and once you do, just drag on your mouse to create a box. You'll notice that the direction in which you drag your mouse actually matters, because whenever you click and drag from left to right, you'll notice that the box is blue, and when you click and drag from right to left, you'll see that it is actually green. And there is an important distinction to keep in mind when it comes to both of these colors. When using the blue box selection method, you'll notice that only the sketch entities that are fully contained within the box will be selected once you let go of the mouse button. Meaning that any sketch entities or items that were not fully contained within the box, but that were instead intersecting it, will not be selected, such as the case of these ones right here. On the other hand, whenever you use the green box selection tool, you'll notice that not only all of the entities that are fully contained within the box will be selected, but also the ones that are intersecting the green box. So in this case, these sketch entities were selected. The lasso selection tool is actually very similar in this regard, but it does have a couple of differences. So let's go over those differences right now. Enabling the lasso selection tool is actually very easy. In fact, you just have to follow the same steps that I showed you earlier for enabling the box selection tool. So you can either just right-click on the graphics area, go down to selection tools and select it from here. You can also access it through the Tools tab up here, going down to Selection and selecting Lasso Selection. And again, if you don't currently have a sketch open, you can always right-click on the graphics area and select it right here. The Lasso Selection tool works similarly to the box selection tool. The only difference is that instead of clicking and dragging from left to right or from right to left, you actually either click and drag clockwise or counterclockwise. If you want to keep learning 3D design with in-depth SOLIDWORKS tutorials, then make sure you're subscribed and that you have notifications enabled. We are gradually building on the skill set that you need to bring your product ideas to life, so you don't want to miss these videos. Okay, let's go back to it, shall we? You'll notice that whenever you click and drag in a clockwise direction, the color of the contour will be blue, and whenever you click and drag in a counterclockwise direction, it'll be green. The color difference here works exactly the same as I mentioned earlier, as you'll notice that all of the sketch entities that are fully contained within the blue contour are selected, while those that are only partially intersecting will not be selected. On the flip side, when using the green contour, even if they're only partially intersecting, they will be selected, as well as the ones that are fully contained. So the colors work in pretty much the same way. However, the added benefit of the lasso selection tool lies in its flexibility in allowing you to create your own contour as opposed to being limited by the shape of a box. And because the box and lasso selection tools are very useful, I think it is important to know when it is convenient to use one over the other. Now, the box selection tool is very versatile on its own, so there are a lot of SOLIDWORKS users that go about their design journey without ever having to rely on the lasso tool. As you start designing with SOLIDWORKS, you'll realize that you can actually use the box selection tool for pretty much anything, but you'll soon come to note that whenever you're working with sketches that have a lot of different geometries and in which they are all tightly packed together, it becomes fairly complicated to select the sketch geometry that you want while leaving others unselected. And that is exactly where the lasso tool can be of great help. If you want to know how I go about it, I typically always use the box selection tool, except for whenever I'm working with sketches that have a lot of sketch entities or that require a very precise selection so as to not select unwanted ones. Now that's pretty much all you need to know about these selection tools, but there are a couple of tricks that would be beneficial for you to know. One of these tricks is that you can actually chain selections together by using the control key on your keyboard. Once you're done making a selection with either one of these selection tools, if you hold down the control key on your keyboard, this enables you to either select another sketch entity individually by clicking on it while holding the control key, or by even using the click and drag method to create another selection box. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to work with the lasso tool, so just keep that in mind. Another thing I want to point you out to is that even though for this video I've only showcased the selection tools within a sketch, you can actually use these tools in parts, assemblies, and drawings as well. The only caveat being that the counterclockwise selection, that is the green one, only works for sketches and drawings. Before continuing with the rest of the video, I want to pass on a question to you. Prior to watching this video, were you already using the box selection tool in your sketches? And for those of you who were, did you know about the lasso selection tool? Let me know in the comment section. For this week's challenge, I would like for you to get comfortable in using the selection tools. I don't expect you to master both of them, as in reality you'll mainly end up sticking to one of them, but I do want you to get familiar with both of them so that if you ever have the need to switch between one or the other, you at least have a basic understanding of how to use it. So to get some practice, I recommend that you either open a sketch that you've already previously made, or if you don't already have a sketch, then this is the perfect opportunity for you to create one and sketch a couple of 2D shapes. Then use both of the selection methods that I taught you to select sketch entities to either move them around or delete them. Okay, let's get back to it. Another useful thing to know is that you can change the color of the selection tool halfway as you are dragging it around. In the case of the box selection tool, you'll notice that if I click and drag over to the right, it is blue, but without letting go, I can simply drag the mouse cursor over to the opposite side and it'll turn green. However, it can be a little complicated when it comes to the lasso selection tool, because you'll notice that even if I start rotating in the opposite direction, the lasso tool will not change colors. In fact, it seems that when using the lasso tool, it'll only change colors if you go back in the opposite direction while making sure that the distance from where you're sketching the contour to the point at which you started it is actually greater than any point on the contour you've already sketched. It can be tough understanding what I just said, so let me try and show it to you visually. So you'll notice that here I'm rotating clockwise, and if I go back counterclockwise in this direction, the color doesn't change because I'm actually rotating at a smaller distance from the furthest point away. On the other hand, if I start rotating clockwise, but then go into a counterclockwise rotation by going further out, you'll notice that it'll suddenly change into the opposite color. And it'll do once again if I extend even further out and then go back. So as long as I keep on extending further out from the previous point, it'll change colors. But you'll notice that if I rotate at any distance smaller than any of the other ones, it'll stay in the same color. So in other words, when you're using this tool, if you ever want to rotate in the opposite direction and change the color, just make sure you extend outward even further than any other point you've already done with the contour. Of course, by this point, you already noticed that when using the lasso selection tool, you can also self-intersect, which will result in deleting the area that you had previously selected. The moments at which you'll use this to your advantage will be rare, but it is still good to keep in mind that this is something at your disposal if you ever need to revert back on any selection that you accidentally made. Now, if you don't yet know how to start a sketch so that you can begin applying what I've just taught you, then be sure to check out our guide on starting your first sketch. It is linked in the top right corner of this video and also down in the description for you to check out. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 2 selection tools that will speed up your sketching process. Now that you have this skill, you'll be one of the fastest SolidWorkers in the land, or at least when it comes to selecting things in SolidWorks. And with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Let's keep climbing.